What about rural areas? I would not recommend driving in rural areas. You're gonna spend a ton of money on gas because you're gonna drive for an hour to see 10 houses. And then one of them is only gonna be distressed. And then a lot of times in rural areas, like especially like country areas, people don't keep up with their houses anyway. So I would not drive in rural areas. Like you're gonna want to pick a super dense area. You're just gonna get the most bang for your buck because, like I said, you'll spend an hour driving and get 3 houses, call them all, and they're all gonna say no. Probably, it usually is gonna take 100 people to get 10 yeses or something like that. So yeah, I would stick with urban. I would stick with urban. Um,
Carson,
I think yes.
you talked about prop stream. Are you going to go over how to find leads later on in this call?
That's next, man. Like I said, throw your questions in the chat. We'll get to them. We'll get to them.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's next. Mike, go ahead, man.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're going to get to exactly that, guys. So what I want to talk about is the freaking bread and butter, the epitome of wholesaling, guys, is cold calling. To a lot of people out there, especially newbies, it is the big bad wolf, right? Cold calling. It's scary, right? Guys, at the end of the day, though, no matter what sort of marketing stream you're using, right? Whether it's Bandit size, Drive for Dollars, even if you want to get around cold calling and say, oh, I'll do PPC, I'll advertise on Facebook. That way, I don't have to talk to people near as much. But at the end of the day, you're always going to have to talk to people, right? So, cold calling it's really a way to get to get some repetitions, right? To really grit your teeth on this thing, right? If you're not good at cold calling, you should do more of it. And at the end of the day, guys, it's not that hard, okay? It's easy as picking up the phone, dialing someone and say, hey, good afternoon, Mrs. Seller. My name is Michael. I'm a local investor, and I'm calling you about your property at 123 Main Street to see if you'd be interested in an offer. That's it. You don't got to complicate it, and think about it. And the gentleman was talking about it earlier, right? Oh, I've called and called, and all I get is not interested, not interested, not interested. That's it. That's life. Okay. It's not as easy as, granted, you get people like our other guy, Carson, who came in his first 100 or 300 leads, right? He got a deal on a contract, and it's looking pretty nice. So, it is what it is. But, at the end of the day, as long as you're consistent, you'll see results. So yeah, with cold calling, it's really a big thing is, again, keeping it simple, and then just staying positive really through it. That's it, because you're going to get those no's and those FUs and this, that, and the third, right? But think about this, guys. You were literally one conversation, 1 5-minute phone call away from changing your life, guys, from changing your freaking life. That's all it really takes, okay? So you keep that in the back of your head as you're making all these cold calls. I mean, nothing can stop you if you keep that in the back of your head, right? Because at the end of the day, like Carson was saying, even if you make 1,000 phone calls and 99 of them, say F you or whatever, that one is a $5,000, $10,000 deal, then look at all the time you spent and break it down by the hour, and I guarantee you are making more per hour than probably anyone honest to God. So yeah, and at the end of the day, it's going to develop your skills of negotiations, right? So you have that initial entry and saying, hey, I'm the local investor, I'm looking to buy, and just follow a script from there. There's plenty of scripts. We've shared scripts. All you got to do is just focus on building some rapport, being likable, being enthusiastic when you're on the phone. That's very key. You want to, when you call that person, you want to be uplifted, right? And then you want to very quickly figure out, what kind of person you're talking to, right? And try to match their tone of voice, and, figure out if they're like a talkative type or if they're kind of more strictly like getting to the point. And then just focus on going through your script and just figuring out, the 4 pillars, right? Their motivation, their timeline, their price, and I'm losing the blank. Motivation, timeline, price, and condition, right? Duh, of course. Yeah. Immediately getting in and talking about the property it's the easiest way, right? If they're interested, say yes. Okay, great. Well, tell me about your house. What is this house? Is it a rental? Is it something you live in? And then boom, just go into it, guys. Try not to make it more complicated than it really is, okay? And the beautiful thing about cold calling is it's such a volume thing, right? You can churn through so many leads. And it's cheap to do. It really is. I mean, you don't have to have a dialer when you get started, right? All you got to do is pick up your phone and start just dialing. But again, if you've got 100 or so bucks you can spend a month, get a dialer, guys, and you'll quickly, you'll be calling 100 plus people an hour, and you'll get one step closer to that deal.
Mike,
So,
Mike, can you two things, like you said, figure out what kind of person they are. Like, are they to the point or are they a talker? Like, literally, all you got to do is listen to them. And that's why, like he said, it's such an easy conversation, because you'll say one thing, they'll say, oh, well, I got to do this with my family because we're moving. Oh, you're moving. Tell me about it. Like, open-ended question. It's so easy. But explain it, because some people don't know what a dialer is. Can you explain what a dialer is?
Yeah. So again, a dialer is something that instead of you having to sit there and punch in every single number to dial that phone number, you can load up your list into this dialer, and the dialer will automatically dial all these phone numbers for you. So you can imagine how much time that'll save. And there's dialers out there that'll call 3 people at a time, 5 people at a time, 8 people at a time. It gets pretty lucrative. So but again, talking about keeping it cheap and simple, you can go and get a list and get a skip trace, all for, depending on how big your list is, a couple $100. And then, if you just want to hand dial, great. But again, if you've got a little bit of the money, guys, spend it on a dialer. Really, with really any marketing stream, like, if it takes you going to get like a part-time job to commit time, to commit the money to some sort of marketing stream, then it's totally worth it, guys. You just got to really, you got to figure out, what you're willing to, your sacrifice and what you're willing to actually, put into this. If it takes going to get a part-time job so you can afford a dialer, so you can afford Bandit signs, like, it's totally worth it, guys, because all it takes is that one deal, and boom, it's all paid for itself 10 times over.
You could squat up with somebody and make calls for them that has a dialer.
Yeah,
and learn
split the cost. Or
you can do it for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Let them know what your intentions are.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Split the cost with somebody, squat up with somebody and say, hey, you want to just split Mojo dialer, and I use it, first part of the day or these days out of the week, and then, we just split the cost down the middle. Something like that, guys. That's the thing about this business. They say, if you don't have resources, get resourceful. That's what it's about. That's what life's about, right? If you don't have the resources, get resourceful. Think outside the box. If you're really trying to figure something and accomplish something, you'll figure out a way to get it done. If that means borrowing money or I'm not saying that do all this and run up credit cards or anything like that, but reaching out to people and squatting up and just figuring it out. Okay, Christian, I know I want to touch on this. You're probably wondering, well, what the heck? Where do I go? How do I even start? Who do I call? I'm cool with calling, but who do I call? Well, hey, what if you went driving for dollars, right? If you went driving for dollars every single morning, right? Built up a list of people, that's exactly who you would call, right? Now, if you want to go ahead and get these lists that are out there, great. There's programs like PropStream out there. There's other websites like ListSource and Listability. Again, if you have a little bit extra money, go for it. Go and get PropStream for $100 a month. You can literally pull 10,000 records a freaking month, guys. That will keep you plenty enough busy, especially if you're just getting started. So go to one of these websites, pull a list. I don't reinvent the wheel. Okay, I'm targeting absentee owner. I'm targeting absentee owner with vacant properties, tax delinquent lists. Pre-foreclosures are out there. It's not something I personally target, but I'm starting to do more so of. But now we've got these foreclosure forbearances, and they keep pushing back the dates. But stick to what everyone else has done, right, guys? Vacant absentee owners. You can even do high equity. But the thing is, guys, is and again, talking with our guy Carson, who was here earlier, don't get caught up in, oh, I need thousands of leads like right now. Once I get done calling these first 1,000, I need 1,000 more leads just to get deals. If there was one thing I could change when I first started, it would be to start with less leads, and I mean churn through those leads, guys. You don't want to just call whatever list you get, your driving for dollars list or a list you purchase offline. You don't want to just go through that list one time and be like, all right, I'm done. I got one person that said they were maybe interested. I'll call back in a month. Like, stick to that list, and make sure you are churning through that list at least a couple of times, guys, because fortune is in the follow-up. Just keep that in your head. Okay, you're not going to get everyone on the first go around. So that's another kind of tip, especially with cold calling, is start small and start with a decent sized list, a couple hundred, even more so if you've got like a dialer. But again, just make sure that you're churning through that list at least a couple of times, because you're gonna pull deals out of it.
I would say at least 3 times, right, Mike?
Yeah, at least 3 times.
Hey, yeah, definitely follow up is definitely key. But when they open up the RIA meetings again, where you can actually physically go to the meetings, you could talk to other lead generators, other real estate agents, wholesalers, and see how you could get their leads, their dead leads, okay? What they consider dead, because the way they call them, the way they, whatever, there's gonna be deals in there. I promise you that. Never throw away your leads. I got a box behind me that is 3 years worth of leads. I'm starting to run through it, and I already made a deal off of it. I'm telling you, I'm going through all my old leads, and I got a box with paper. Now I got a CRM. This is when I first started. So I'm going through those. I'm talking to other people about, do you have any dead leads? Please send them to me. On a dead lead, you could pay them $1,000, $500, whatever you want. But it's definitely, it might, they might never followed up with them. Who knows? But they might be ready to sell now. So a couple of suggestions.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, get involved, right? Get networking, get squatting up, right? Join local investment groups and just reach out to people and say, hey, listen, I'm just trying to get my feet wet. I'm happy if anyone's got a list of leads to call. I'm happy to start calling them for you. You'd be surprised. I got a list of 3,000 leads, skip traced and all, from a group I'm a part of. 3,000 leads, okay? And that cuts down on my cost per lead, right? That's already a free list and already skip trace. I mean, that's the most expensive part of it, really. So, that was just me being a part of a certain Facebook group. So, join your local Facebook groups and, investment related, and, just reach out to people, because there will be other people in similar situations to you that are interested, in working together. So,
and you might, hey, Christian, you might want to meet up with some guys that you might met on Facebook in your area and see if they want to meet up at a certain, every morning. Kind of like me, Carson, and Michael do a lot, or on Saturdays or whatever day, and just to make phone calls together. Just by being in that same room, you're gonna do better, because you want to show them you could get a lead before them, and it's competition, or they might have a lead, they might, you might help them on and things like that. So it's just good to do things like that, even if you're not making a nickel off of it. Or sometimes me, Carson, and Mike, we always are doing deals every month together. So,
Yeah, and I was just about to ask, where do I find people like you? Because, Carson was just telling me he helped someone get 1 lead in 1 day. So where can I find it?
Well, you got to go. Do you have look in under Meetup in your area? Google, go on Facebook and look for wholesalers in your area. There's all kinds of, in our area, there's 30 different groups.
Okay.
You can literally just post. Like, I can guarantee there's a million other wholesalers just like you that want to start out, and just whatever time you're available, whether it's morning or night. Hey, anyone want to be accountability partners and meet up and cold call 3 days a week, or reach out to people who are saying, there's always people posting in the Metro Detroit investing group, the Michigan group. They're posting, hey, I'm looking to build my buyers list, trying to do my, I'm starting to wholesale or whatever. Like, just reach out to those people. I met Todd through a meetup. It just goes back to being vocal. We don't have in-person meetups, but I was just really loud about what I wanted to do when I started. I was like, I want to start wholesaling in this area. And this insurance agent connected me to one of Todd's partners at the time, who connected me to Todd. And so I mean, and then we just started working together. And I was adding value to Todd because what we were doing was I was calling his leads and we would split them 75-25. And that was even worth it at the time. That was so because he was giving me leads and we were splitting them. And, you know, some depending on the deal, we would do 50-50 or 75-25, but I didn't care. Just being with, you know, him in a room, like and the guy who got the deal, it wasn't like I handed him a lead and he got a deal. If people are in my office, we don't talk. Like I say, here's the dialer, here's the list you're calling, like start dialing because I know they're not going to be successful otherwise. And that's what I needed starting out from Todd. So that's how it happens. And he just happened to talk to the right person at the right time. So you'll get there. It might not be your first day. It might not be your first week. It might not be your first month, but this is what we're doing to get 5 to 10 deals a month. So, and this is why when I first met Todd, he was still doing 5 to 10 a month. I think at least 5. And I was like, if Todd can do 5 a month, I can do 1 or 2 a month. Like I know I can do that. So that was just my mentality. And I stuck with it until I got my first deal. So, you know, it's not that hard to find people. Just reach out and be vocal about it. Posting a bunch of groups to find somebody, even if it's not, you know, do a Zoom call with them if they're out of state and they want to be accountability partners. I mean, it's all the same thing. But that was huge for me because we can teach you how to find your first deal. We can't find it for you. So you have to figure out what's going to motivate you to do what you got to do, whether it's calling a buddy, hey, you want to hang out every Friday night. And then he gets in your car and thinks you're about to go play video games and you hand him 50 Bandit signs and say, this is what we're doing tonight. But you need that person with you because it's way more fun with somebody else or cold calling with somebody. That's how you're going to actually get your first deal. And so, yeah, I mean, we have a bunch of questions. One of them was about how to build your buyers list in 2 weeks. So we kind of set a schedule. Next week, we're going to be talking about acquisitions. So this week was really focused on how to find leads, how to generate leads, how to find deals. And like every single one of the 3 things we talked about today were the exact 3 things that we got our first deals on, all of us. Either cold calling, driving for dollars, or Bandit signs. So after like next week, we're going to talk about how to talk to sellers, what to figure out from the sellers, all that kind of stuff, how to get your contracts, how to close sellers. The week after, which is going to be 20th, we're going to be talking about disposition. So just purely selling deals, how to add buyers to your list, all that kind of stuff. So we'll cover that in a couple weeks. Networking can do it all for you. Networking can find you buyers. Networking can find you sellers. I mean, even in groups like this.
Talking to other wholesalers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They can help you.
Yeah.
I got a deal right now that I was working. I got it off of Facebook. I knew the area really well. I went out there the next day, and when I got there, I brought my buyer with me, who I knew wants this area, and I knew a lot of other people. So he's kind of like one of my VIP buyers, and I already knew what the price was that they wanted. And so I told my buyer it's going to be at this price. He looked at the house with me and he wanted it. So I locked it up under contract. And long story short, they sold it to someone else that morning. The partner that showed me the house did not know that. And so I never even got the house. So I followed up on it. I asked them when they were ready to close. They said by the end of the month, the 28th or 29th. So I called. I said, I'm going to give you a call, see how it's going. I called them. They did not close. And they gave them an extension till Tuesday yesterday. So on Monday night, I called and asked if they closed. They said no. And they said, do you want it? I said, yeah, absolutely. They sent me the assignment. And and in the assignment, I had it changed where I'm able to assign it. So I gave them the price they wanted, and then I went and assigned it at a higher price. So if that makes sense, but it was an easy deal. Follow up for sure.
Yeah. And probably you met both those people just networking.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep. Yeah. They know me. I know them. I just met, just from being in the area for sure.
Yeah. So let's get some of these questions.
Yeah.
I think we already answered the first one, so you guys link up with other people. That's a ton of what we do. I mean, it makes so much sense. I mean, that's why we've been so successful these past 6 months versus 12 months ago, is because we've been doing a ton of deals together. Let's see. What advice would you give someone who's just getting started with wholesaling? Exactly what we just talked about. So today we're talking about how to generate leads. Next week, how to close the leads. The week after, how to sell them. So start this week, either buy Bandit signs, drive for dollars, or get a list on PropStream of tax delinquents, put them in a dialer and start cold calling. And then you'll have a bunch of leads next week. Bring them to the call. We'll analyze your deals. We'll call your sellers. If somebody brings a seller to us next week at 8 o'clock, I'll call them live and have the conversation with them. Tell them if you get lost and you say, oh, I don't even know what to say. How about you talk to my partner, Carson, at 8:15 on Wednesday? Okay, sure. And then I'll call them and help you through it. But start with this, start with finding deals, and the rest will come. That's really all there is to it. Anything more I would say would just be confusing you. Just talk to sellers.
Talk to sellers or squat up, try to get in the room with other people that might have a little more experience than you that are doing deals. And that way you could learn and get to their level. And then you guys go meet other people at a higher level and just keep leapfrogging that way. And remember the people behind you to always have people there where you're teaching them where you were, 6 months ago, and you try to bring them up to your level, so we're always trying to help others.
Yeah, exactly. What areas do we concentrate on? So I'm mainly Genesee County. I would say 95% of my deals are in Genesee County. So Flint, Burton, and Mount Morris are really where I do most of them. Mike, same thing. He's doing some virtual. He's closing a deal in Alabama, focusing mainly on Flint. Todd is everywhere else. Just think everywhere else in East Michigan, Detroit. I mean, all around Detroit is where he mainly
Wayne
lives.
County, downriver, Genesee County. Yep, anywhere.
Yeah, Todd's everywhere, and I want to expand too. I'm way newer than Todd, and I've really just been focusing on just mastering this market, and then I'm actually excited to expand to other places.
Well, I had an advantage because I grew up in Wayne County, and Oakland's like our neighbors. Genesee County is it's a small area.
They're isolated.
Yeah, Macomb's our neighbors, and downriver's our neighbors. So that's why.
Yeah, Craig said check area regulations and rules about the bandit signs. So yeah, you can check your municipalities like rules about the bandit signs. Probably never really going to be legal, but definitely check. They might say something specific that we didn't touch on.
I guarantee anyone you call is probably going to say, oh no, we don't allow those. But it's like, they're probably going to just tell you that on the phone just to stop you from doing it, right? But again, if you just go out and put them out there, that's the best way to figure out rules and regulations. Call it controversial or whatever, but just put a few out, okay? And if you get calls from whatever person at the city and says, hey, you need to get your sign up, okay, just go get your signs up, But I just say, that's how I look at stuff. So
yeah, fail forward. That is the quickest way to learn.
You could get a phone number that you could get rid of, a throwaway phone that they can't trace you.
I like Mark's method. If you don't see any, you probably better not waste your money.
Yeah, I mean that's smart. Especially if it's a busy area and you don't see them. In busy areas, people would put them there if they could. But yeah, that's pretty much that. Somebody said, "What's your opinion about text messaging and email to make contact with sellers?" I think I'm speaking for all three of us when I say email is kind of the last resort. If we don't get a phone number, we'll look up their email. Text messaging, we do that. Texting is great, but text messaging is just leading to a phone call. So you're going to send out 100 texts, 20 responses. Yeah, Mike does a lot of it. Mike, you can touch on that for a second, but you have to talk to him either way.
Yeah, it's just part of. So my system now is I cold call everyone. I go through every single list. Now, once I've cold called these lists multiple times, I mean, there's some lists I've called people 5, 8, 10 times. I then take that same list, all the excluding anyone do not call or anyone that's not interested. until the next 6 months. I then take those numbers and I load them up in my text messaging platform, and then I'm texting them. We just contracted a deal just the other day, this week. No, we had not gotten any responses from cold calling this person. I texted them, and boom, just like that. You know, some people don't pick up their phones, but they'll respond to a text, right? So, but you know, that gets into more. That gets you. That's more so, you know, just making sure you're leaving every stone unturned, right? So you know, but again, just attempt to get them on the phone is one of the quickest ways you're gonna, you know, get somebody. So.
I would say if you're new, like especially if you haven't done a deal, just cold call till you get your first couple deals. You know, Mike's at the point where Mike does more consistent marketing than me and Todd for sure. He does a ton of texting and cold calling. So he's really refining that process. So he's now doing texting or cold calling and then texting, and he'll probably add RVMs, then he'll add this and this and this to really maximize the lists. So I would just start out cold calling. It's going to be another system you have to pay for with texting, but it works. And if you want to do that instead of cold calling, go for it. I just prefer cold calling.
Yeah. I heard, I forget, Max Maxwell, I think it was actually, what he does, and it made complete sense to me. He gets a list, let's say it's 1,000 people, and they might text the list first, RVM it or something, text it, something like that. And then, and they keep track of the list. So the bad cause or people aren't interested, they take off, they say, F you, take me off your list, they take them off. And then let's say it goes down to 700 people, then they'll call them all. And then they take the people off the list, or they have people they're gonna follow up on. Let's say they have 500 left. Then they might do their mailings, you know. So they're not mailing 1,000 at once. They go through a process or a assembly line, and you know, they might do the texting first, the calling next, and then they might do the mailing, something like that, you know. So
yeah, that's the most efficient way, like to get to a list, you know.
Yeah.
But starting out, you know, you really just need to cold call. But you know, if you want to do all that, you're gonna maximize that list better. I'm not gonna say you're not. 2 questions: how many houses can you wholesale in 1 year? And how much are you guys spending per month to get 5 deals per month? How many houses can you wholesale a year? It depends how much you want to do, how much you want to work. I think I did like around 50 last year, and I'm probably averaging like 40 hours a week at 50 deals.
you'll do more
How
than
many
that.
houses? Huh?
You should do 100 this year or more.
Yeah, I should do at least 100 this year. Yeah. And that was last year. I really only worked like half a year, so that's why I say 40 hours a week. I wasn't really working the first half of the year, but it just depends how much time you put into it. It depends how much, like some markets you might do 5 deals a year, but each deal is 100 grand. Whereas our market, you're going to do 100 deals a year, but each deal is 5 grand. So you're going to get $500,000 either way. So it just depends. It just depends, but it's going to be equal to the amount of work you put in and the amount of sellers you talk to. So for me, how much I'm spending to get 5 deals per month, I could, without a doubt, working under 60 hours a week, get 5 deals a month with this much money spent, just because networking and free ways to find deals. 100%. I do 5 deals a month that are completely free. I probably spend $1,000 a month now between CRM, you know, dialers, stuff like that. Half the stuff I don't even use, but you don't, you know, in this market, because other markets you have to spend like there's some markets where their average deal cost is like $9 grand to get 1 deal, and their average deal size is 25 grand. That's not our market, so you don't need to spend money to get deals, honestly. But be prepared. You know, you're gonna want to spend a little bit, you know, $400 or $500 a month between dialer and lists, and you can close 5 deals a month. We've all closed 5 deals a month in under $1,000 in marketing spend, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's a good question, though. That's a really good question. Like I said, this market's different. If you're dealing with $400,000 houses, there's going to be more competition. It's going to be a different way to get a hold of those homeowners. Let's see. Do you I'm guessing recommend using the CRM? Yeah, 100%. Podio is great for starting out. We all use Freedom Soft, and that's $200 a month. But yeah, I would recommend it starting out. It just keeps you organized. I don't know if you guys want to touch on that, but we definitely do. We all use it.
Yeah, I know one thing is for sure when I first started out, like I was touching on earlier, is like focusing on not getting a ton of leads, but the leads I have, because you know, when you're starting out, you're just writing everything down on paper. I know for me, I mean, I've lost leads because my notebook goes this way or that way, or a page gets torn, or you know, I write it down, but I don't put it anywhere else. I don't put it in my phone. I forget. You're getting leads coming in. So a CRM is super useful because again, the fortune's in the follow up, and it allows you to stay consistent with your follow up and to know, you know, who's in your pipeline and who to keep calling, and it just helps keep things organized and systematized. So I'm not, you know, I'm not a systems guy, but after actually getting a CRM and using it, it is, I mean, it's definitely the reason why I'm closing. I've been, you know, closing between the 5 and 8 deal mark a month. So not quite over 10, but we're
Yeah.
getting there.
It's really it's great. It's amazing. I mean, mine shows me how many deals I've closed, how much money I've made, so I can divide it, and that's my average deal size. It just shows you all your KPIs, key performance indicators, so you can really go back and look at what you're doing. So it's, yeah, definitely use a CRM.
And it tells you where you got the deals from. You know,
Yeah.
you could categorize, you know, if you got it from another wholesaler, if it was code calling, what marketing list it was from. You could really get down to the nitty gritty on that, you know, if you do it right, which I know I'm doing it this year. I never knew my KPIs, never, ever, ever, but starting now, January 1st, I'm putting, if you asked me what I made last month or the month before or the month that, I would not know, because I'm a deal junkie, just moving forward. But the Freedom Soft, they'll keep track of everything for you, and you should track your numbers, and
Yeah.
so you don't waste your time doing things that you shouldn't be doing, and you know, spend your time on the thing that's making you the most money.